everyone, and welcome back to the Dwarven Tavern. I am Dr. Jeff Goins, your host for this show, and we are going to talk about, since we're in the accessory mode, I guess, we're going to be talking about this, which is the Pathfinder chase cards. Now, this is Pathfinder 2nd Edition, 55 chase cards, and it goes for $15, $14.99. And it is interesting because chasing and being chased has always been an issue in all of my games because people, they go off on foot chases and try to find stuff and or catch things and so forth, and it's just really annoying to have to run it with and come up with different things to do, different like he pulls a shopping cart behind him, which in Middle Earth you don't have too many shopping carts, but baskets, jars, whatever, crates. So what we have here are the chase rules, and I'm going to go ahead and read these because it's a neat thing. It's a neat thing. When running a Pathfinder game, you can create a chase scene using this deck as a visual aid or randomizing element, which is true. A chase is abstracted using notable challenges instead of a grid or specific distances, which is an important distinction, and I think it's a good one because you don't have to. I mean, you've already got the math involved, right? You've got your movement, and since everybody essentially moves at the same speed, which is not true. Everybody moves at a different speed regardless of dexterity. I don't move nearly as fast as I used to across a flat plane or whatever. So instead of saying, well, you move 30 feet per round times 5 because you've got the thing, that means you can run 150 feet around or 150 yards outside or whatever. Doing all that math, and it's like you both have the exact same speed. You're chasing a rogue or whatever. Someone's chasing you. You got the same speeds. It goes until somebody fails their dexterity check and trips, which that's one way to do it. But this allows for a lot cooler options. The time scale can be flexible too. It might be seconds between obstacles in a quick city chase, or days for a long pursuit, like as in being tracked or whatever. Leonardo DiCaprio in the Revenant, right? When he was chasing Oliver Hardy. It's not Tom Hardy. I wonder if they're related. Anyway, this deck adapts the rules from page 156 of the Pathfinder Game Mastery Guide, which includes even more options to use in your game. Each card in the deck represents an obstacle in a chase. So you've got the chasm, you've got the precarious beam, you've got the shaky ground, and so forth. All those are just random cards drawn out of the deck. So if you're running through a city, you can play them as appropriate. There can be chasms in a city. If you've ever gone to Live Leak and looked for natural disasters in like India or whatever, or flooding or anything, this shit happens, yo. These are further divided by level. An orange dot indicates a hard obstacle, typically 4th or 5th level. 2 orange dots is an extra hard obstacle, typically 8th or higher level. For a higher level group, use the harder obstacles. It says the more hard obstacles, which is weird English. It's weird grammar. More, harder, they're not as much better. Typically using some hard obstacles for a 3rd level group, all hard obstacles for a 5th level group, and so on. So it gives you good guidelines. I like that. This is how I compile the axes. I find things in the situation that either lends to or detracts from. And each card shows the number of chase points needed to overcome that obstacle, along with 2 default skills or stats that can be used. This was a really big point for me. It gives you 2 different ways of getting past the obstacle. For instance, the precarious beam, it gives you a DC of 15 acrobatics to balance across, or a DC 17 crafting or survival to stabilize the beam, like just throwing a rock under each side or whatever to keep the beam from rolling with you as you walk across it. Each shows a number of chase points needed to overcome that obstacle, and in this one is an obstacle 2, the precarious beam, which apparently is the one that I'm using as an example. The setup. First, sort out the inappropriate types of obstacles for your chase. For a chase, and it's what I was just talking about. For a chase through a villager example, use only the general or urban cards. If the chase is for a first level party, you would also want to remove the very hard obstacles. And I'll use the unholy sight and the collapsed tunnel are hard. And fortunately, these are not in any specific order that I can see. Either that or I've already shuffled them, which is good because they're supposed to be random, as opposed to the other cards that I've reviewed, which are supposed to be in order, file cabinet style. Drawing a number of cards you need, lay out a number of cards based on how long you want the chase to last. Short is 6 obstacles, 10 to 20 minutes of game time, which we all know is a lie. Medium, 8 obstacles, about 15 to 20 minutes of game time, or long as 10 obstacles, around 20 to 30 minutes of game time, in theory. However, another thing is you can roll a number of dice, like 3 6s. 3 6-sided dice, however many obstacles in this chase. If it's entirely random, you can make it entirely random. Place some cards face down in order from left to right with a miniature or token to indicate the PCs and one to indicate their adversary, whether chasing or being chased. If the PCs are pursuing, start them to the left of all cards and place the adversaries on the second obstacle. If the PCs are running away, start the PCs between the first and second obstacle and the adversaries to the left of all the cards. When the chase begins, flip the first card to the right of the PCs, and when running, and if they're being chased, same card, keep flipping. If they're being chased, any cards from the left of them. As the PCs make progress, move their token onto the obstacle's chase point tracker and flip over each. Hello, Xena. Where was I? The cuteness distracted me. Are you doing a chase this time? You love these cards too, huh? I know. Flip over each card as the PCs approach it. So here I have a number of cards, which equals 5, which would be a super short chase. It's supposed to be a minimum of 6. Okay, chase play out in a series of rounds. So we have here a number of cards that I shall flip over. So we shall say that the players that shall be represented by this, the hell is that? A zombie kobold? No, it's a skeletal dwarf. Okay, so a dwarf skeleton is chasing this skeletal gnoll. So the skeletal gnoll goes to the left of the second card, and the dwarf skeleton goes to the, if I'm not mistaken. Bye, Xena. So if the PCs are pursuing, put them to the left of all the cards, which is here. Yeah, the adversaries between the first and second card. So they're on the second obstacle and so forth. So this is where we are when the chase begins. Then chase play out in a series of rounds. The side of the chase being pursued goes first in initiative because they take off running and you go after them, right? Otherwise it wouldn't be a chase. You would just tackle them and be done with it. So they get the initiative. Smart and true. The PC's opposition goes at a ready state, typically passing 1 obstacle per round. PCs need to earn chase points toward each obstacle. The PC's turns are grouped together and they can act in any order. On a character's turn, they describe what they do, so this can be any number, I would say. And actually that would be more fun if multiple people were chasing, because then, you could have people like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, when they were after Darth Maul, know how they were separated because etc. They then attempt any required roll, with their result determining how many chase points the character gains toward completing that obstacle. A critical success, they get 2 chase points. A success, they get 1. And a critical failure, they lose a point. And so I'm not sure. Personally, I think that the adversary being chased should also roll, but you can have it to where they just go forward 1 obstacle as they go. It's totally up to you. It's best to allow improvisation as well, using the obstacles level and the DCs by level table on page 503 of the Pathfinder core rulebook to set DCs. Other means of bypassing the obstacles, including certain spells, might automatically attain chase points without requiring a check. The PCs typically get 1 chase point for such a tactic, though you can increase it to 2 if it was extremely helpful. For instance, if they say, if I encounter any dogs, because there's a lot of dogs on the street, I'm gonna get a chunk of meat handy to get past them. I'm like, so you just fling the meat at them, it hits them, and they start eating, and they're no longer an obstacle. Hush puppies in the Civil War was one such tactic. Once PCs accumulate enough chase points to overcome the obstacle, they immediately move to the next, flip the next card over, so it's visible. Extra chase points don't carry over to the next obstacle. Just because you jumped that fence doesn't mean you can bypass that swinging scythe blade or whatever. However, anyone who hasn't already taken their turn at the round can still make it against a new obstacle. The number of chase points the PCs have can never fall below 0. And ending a chase. The chase usually ends when one of 3 things happens. A pursuing group reaches the pursued group. The pursued group escapes by passing a final obstacle, or the pursued group escapes by getting 3 obstacles away from the pursuer. You lost them. Right. The end of the chase is a good time to assign XP using the accomplishment XP rules. Typically 10 XP for a short chase, 30 for a medium or long chase in 508 of the core rulebook. Now, this is second edition, so the XP and leveling up are entirely different. Works best, it says, for a 4-player group. For every player below 4, decrease the number of chase points needed to pass by 1. For each, increase it by 1. So you can increase with a group. I would allow it to go. I would allow it to go per diem, but that would stretch it out longer in time. But it might be more fun. I don't know. Okay, so let's see what happens. So the first one, he's here. They're like, get him, and he goes. Right, so they have to go across shaky ground. It's an obstacle of 2, and it's a DC of 15 to maintain your balance, or a 17 perception to find a stable point. Okay, so they start out with no chase points. So you put them on that card. They're on shaky ground. They roll. Let's say they make it. They get a chase point. You put them on the 1, and then this guy moves to here because they go through 1 round. That took a round. Next round, they roll. I'm not going to actually roll because that would take too long. They roll and they do make it. So then that puts them here the next time, and it puts him here. He's on they run across. They encounter a precarious beam that he ran across. 2 chase points. Okay, so they roll. He goes here, and they get 2 obstacle. They made a critical success, and that takes them to a chasm. They get to the chasm, which is 2 points, and they make it, and they get a point, and he gets away with 5. And we'll put another one here, just for the game of it. So it looks like it would be pretty difficult to catch someone if they are not going by the same rules. If they go, and the next one's an unholy sight, which is 4 obstacle points, which a DC of 18 religion to push back the evil, or 20 will to hold back the corruption. Then they come to a collapsed tunnel to dig through or find another way around, and a cramped passage to squeeze through or find a better route. And it looks like he got away this time because they just weren't good enough. So this, I'm going to give it, well, one thing that detracted for me was, and this is just my own thing, is the print is like super tiny. It's like dinky 6-point font, or even smaller, maybe 5, which is difficult for me personally to read. The OGL, the Open Gaming License, is even smaller. It's like 4 points, like the smallest font you can get. So chase cards, it looks like it would add a lot of oomph to your game, and I dig it. So I'm going to give it 4 3/4 axes, because if they had added 1 more card, I know that would have been millions and millions of extra cards based on the number of decks that they probably print out. But the font was just too tiny on the rules for the game for me. It's really not enough to detract from, but I think it's a necessary accessory. That's a NES accessory for $14.99, $15. Adds a lot to your game, totally worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it 5 axes, because everything else I've done recently has gotten 5 axes. So why break the streak? Yeah, no reason. So 5 axes. Lots of, and the other thing too is there are lots of really cool variations, like the fire rune and a bear. Well, it's a bear. A festival, running through a festival, with all the party goers and such. So I mean, it just adds so much variety to it. Chase cards from Paizo for Pathfinder. You could adapt this for other games as well. Your 3.5 or your first edition Pathfinder, which is always cool. Which is why one of the reasons I like Pathfinder so much is because it's adaptable to others. So that's chase cards. Get them, use them, love them, hunt them down. All that being said, I am Dr. Jeff Goins, and on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, we wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged and got over that beam. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.